Borderline personality disorder. We're going to go a little bit off of the rails today and talk about another cluster B personality disorder called borderline personality disorder. And the subject matter we are going to touch on today is about whether or not borderline personality disorder can be cured. And like narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, lies within the cluster B of personality disorders in the DSM-5. So, just like every other video or podcast, I would love to invite you to subscribe, press the like button, click that bell icon so that you can get future updates when I upload new videos and podcasts. Thanks, guys. So, borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, it cannot be cured. And anyone who enters treatment looking for a quick and easy fix is bound to be completely disappointed. And I bring this subject matter up because I am usually browsing Reddit or listening to another podcast or one of my ebooks in my free time, and I was browsing the subreddit for borderline personality disorder, and this is where people who have been diagnosed, people who have self-diagnosed, and victims of these borderline personality disorders victims of these people often hang out in these corridors in Reddit. So I had seen a few posts over the last couple of days about people claiming that they've been cured from borderline personality disorder using saying things like, I no longer meet the criteria to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Wow, this is totally impossible. You don't become undiagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And it is a red flag of borderline personality disorder for somebody with BPD to claim they've been cured from BPD, which is grandiose thinking and magical thinking. And it is a type of whenever a borderline is splitting, they can split with the notion that they have borderline personality disorder, kind of cutting off that part of their personality, or in an attempt to cut a part of that their personality out, because they view it as being flawed, that part of them that has BPD. Well, they always have BPD. They can't actually do this, and many will try, which in and of itself is a symptom of borderline personality disorder. So, with that being said, I think that everybody who's listening should be aware that the symptoms of borderline personality disorder can be managed. However, they can be monitored, they can be reduced in their intensity, or they cannot be entirely eliminated. And a firm commitment to recovery is absolutely vital for people who suffer from BPD and who can find lasting wellness if they stay faithful to their treatment regimens and remain on guard against any signs of relapsing back into older symptoms. Okay, so in regards to responsiveness to treatment, again, there is no cure for borderline personality disorder, and no matter how successful treatment might be, the risk of the BPD symptoms returning is very real, and it cannot be ignored or denied. Nevertheless, the road to recovery following treatment for borderline personality disorder is a relatively straightforward one. I've seen people with BPD symptoms, they kind of tend to peak in the young adulthood and they kind of gradually, not so gracefully, fade over time to the point where they're no longer a feature in daily life in very rare cases. And when treatment is provided, the process of age-related decline in BPD intensity is quickened, And the chances of enduring recovery actually with time become excellent. That means that they don't stop their treatment, however. And in one recent study involving people who were hospitalized for borderline personality disorder and then released, 70% of the participants had no longer met the criteria for BPD at some time or another during the following 6 years. But amongst this group, 94% suffered reoccurrence of their conditions and were not able to maintain a symptom-free status indefinitely. And these results kind of agree and disagree with findings in two other borderline personality research projects, which were the first that were actually discussed in peer-reviewed medical journals in 2005. And I remember the first of these studies, it was called the Collaborative Longitudinal Personality Disorder Study. So there was a study, and there were a couple hundred people who were formally diagnosed with personality disorders. They were tracked over a period of, I think, 10 years, and they participated in outpatient recovery programs. That was one of the prerequisites. And among these people, 85% of them, I believe, they experienced extended symptom-free periods lasting 12 months or longer. And out of this group, only 11% did not continue with not relapsing. So that means about 77% of individuals receiving treatment for BPD, they stopped having symptoms altogether, but 94% of them, the symptoms ramped up once again several years later. And this is kind of the study that paints this in the best light. And the second of these studies, they were, what was the name of that place? That hospital? I think it was McLean Psychiatric Hospital. This was in Belmont, Massachusetts. And there was an open-ended initiative monitored the ongoing progress of almost, I think, 300 patients who had BPD. And they were also treated at the same facility, and they had achieved symptom-free periods for 2 years or longer, and 78% had extended that period to at least 8 years. Among the latter group, but I think the relapse rate was 90%, again showing that continuing freedom from BPD symptoms is kind of an achievable goal in certain scenarios, but again, it's very, very rare.